I just wanted to also tell you about another car situation that Wade had moved to Indianapolis in December, and he had a Toyota, I believe it was. And anyway, after he had been there for a couple of years, maybe not even that long, but anyway, when I first moved to Indianapolis, I forgot to tell you that I bust all over. And when I worked for Dr. Garcia, I walked back and forth to work because it was only like 6 blocks away. But anyway, Wade eventually got a car, and he gave me his car. But the only thing wrong with it, it didn't have any, it wouldn't start. But it was a clutch car, you know, and it was not an automatic transmission. The only way to get it started was get in and push it, hop in, and pop the clutch. Well, that was fine, I could do that. I mean, you know, it was a car, hey, there was a way for me to get around, and I didn't mind that. But I mean, look, I was a 50-year-old lady. Can you see the, you know, some 50-year-old lady, you know, pushing a car and jumping in, you know. And then when I went to, then our office had moved, maybe about 3 or 4 miles away, and I was able to park in a situation where I backed in the car, and so then when I get done in the afternoon or evening, all they have to go, you know, it was kind of like on a hill, so that worked out good too. But like at church, it was a flat ground, I had to jump in and push it, and, you know, people watching me, you know, okay, I don't care, I mean, it was a car. But then, when I was out of work for those 2 years, that was another car. I got after this car, I got another car. I got another Ford, I believe it was. With that car, I mean, it was a nice car. It was a fancy car. I got my first nice car. I got my first speeding ticket. But eventually, you know, the cars were out, and you know, and things like that. Remember, I was still working at that, you know, Jonathan Bird's, and that was, you know, that was at least 5 miles away. Well, on the way home one night, it was in the evening, the motor blew up, and I knew that it was going, you know, I knew that it was on its way out there too. The motor blew up, and so I pulled over. I tried to get, this is on the interstate, I pulled over and I tried to get, you know, I blinked my lights, I tried to get somebody to stop, nobody would stop, and I thought, well, what am I gonna do? You know, I had a cell phone, but the cell phone, you had to know the number you were calling in order to do that. I knew nobody's number, so even if I had a number, I wouldn't have known who to call. So anyway, I started walking. There was a gas station up the road, maybe, and off to the right, maybe a half a mile. So I started walking. I thought, well, I'll just go up there. So I walk along the road. I got maybe a block or something like this, and here this old beat-up car, scruffy-looking man stopped and asked if I needed a ride. Well, you're looking at him. Should I or shouldn't I? I mean, you know, do I dare get in the car with this guy? He asked me where I was going, and I told him. He said, well, I'll give you a ride home. And I thought, well, okay, why not? I mean, yeah, what have I got to lose? So anyway, I got in the car, and it turned out that he lived in Beech Grove, and that's exactly where I lived. He only lived maybe a few blocks from where I lived. So the Lord, again, provided for me in an amazing way. Okay, it was during those 2 years, you know, toward the end of those 2 years that I wasn't working, that somehow or another, I won't get into detail, but anyway, the Lord provided me a 1996 Chevy. It was the newest car that I ever had, and I really, really, really appreciated that, things like that. Well, then, then I got that job, and that was even better, but all of a sudden, check engine light. Take it in to the shop, and they would fix it. A couple weeks later, check engine light. Okay, take it in, fix it again, couple of, not driving along, check engine light. I don't know how long this went on. I mean, for a long, long, long time. But I had an older couple that I had met at our Singspiration. Anyway, he told me as long as it's not smoking, it's not low in oil, he says, don't worry about that check engine light, because I had spent lots of money on that and other things. So anyway, I quit doing that. But then anyway, it came to where I couldn't trust it. It didn't always want to start. So I figured it's time to get rid of it. So the Lord let me trade it in, and I got a 2002 car. And I drove that car, and that was a good car, but again, check engine light. But I just drove it, and I can't remember how long I had that car, but I drove that car from Indianapolis to Bismarck with that check engine light. And I drove it a few years, even after I got here with that check engine light on, nothing ever happened. But then, I have to tell you about an accident that happened with that car. It was my own fault. I wasn't watching or something, but anyway, the right front fender got not dented, but I mean, it stuck way out there. And I couldn't afford to go in and have it fixed because I don't think I even had insurance on it, I don't remember. But I mean, it was not full coverage if I had insurance. So I mean, I had no way of, I didn't have the money to have it fixed, So anyway, I just drove it like that. Well, one day I was driving up the street past this repair shop, and I saw this car in front of this repair shop. It looked exactly like the car I was driving. Same color, same model, same year, So I stopped there, and I asked them if they would sell, if it was for sale, and they said I could buy it. So I had a lady friend. Her husband did car repair work. So I bought that car, and he made arrangements to have it towed to his place, and he changed the bumper. And in the meantime, while he was doing that, I was able to come to North Dakota for a visit. When I got back to Indianapolis, everything was taken care of. That car looked like it had never been dented even. So again, the Lord is just amazing. He gave me something that I wasn't even asking for. He just provided for me in a wonderful way. So, and I guess I'll just wrap that up as far as the car goes. Oh, I gotta tell you about the car here in North Dakota that I just got rid of. But came to North Dakota, and I got rid of that car that I drove up from Indianapolis. And what was so interesting is that the car that I bought here in North Dakota, I told the Lord way back then when I got this black car, and I can't remember what kind it was, but I told the Lord, I said, the next car that I have, well, the next car that I get will have to be a freebie, because I knew that I wasn't going to have any money after I'm retired. I came to North Dakota, went with my son to the car auction over in Mandan, and I bought this used car over there. And then my daughter-in-law put the black car that I drove from Indianapolis on the internet, and she sold it for the same price that I bought this used car for. So actually it was a freebie. But interesting enough, that Buick was the best car, ever. And I drove that thing until just a few months ago, this year in fact. And all of a sudden, I would go out there and it wouldn't start. The battery. Went and had it charged up, had it looked at, got a new battery, last year, a couple of years ago, had it charged up, go out there and it wouldn't start. And finally, I just came to the point, I said, that is enough. I'm done. I don't want to drive anymore. So I got rid of that car. And right now, I'm not driving. And I tell you that, I just praise the Lord, that's the best decision I ever made, because I no longer have to worry about cars. I just have peace about it. And if you guys are going through any of those things, I pity you. Have a good day.